Hey everybody, welcome to HTM Hackers Hangout. It is July 6th, 3 p.m. on the West Coast right now. I'm Matt Taylor from Numenta, as always, is our monthly sort of Google Hangout for the online community. Free to join the discussion if you want to, or you can just watch live or watch wherever, whenever. If you want to discuss something, look in the show notes for this YouTube video, and there's a link to a forum where you can discuss it or comment on the YouTube video or whatever. But this is just our way to sort of interact with the community. And I got some topics that are also in the notes down there and on the forum that I'm going to run through. Let me share my screen here to do some of that. And then we'll open up the floor for some community discussion too. Hey, there's the forum discussion I'm talking about. I'm going to talk about these animations in a minute. First, I've been talking about a podcast that we're doing. The first episode of that will be coming out probably in a couple weeks, before the end of July, where I interviewed Jeff for like an hour. And it's probably, I'm going to split it up in two parts because it's really, really deep. It goes pretty deep, pretty fast. So brush up on the HTM school videos before you watch this, because you're definitely going to want to know how sequence memory works and how that might interplay with grid cell and locations with grid cells. Because we talk a lot about object representation and sensory motor movement and all that stuff. So that should be coming out in a couple of weeks. Other than that, events I think I want to run through. Oh, papers. So nobody on research is on the call right now. However, I do know that we're working on two papers. One of them is sort of object representation with grid cells, and then Cortex paper, which is sort of the core of our HTM with grid cells. Sequence memory, sensory motor, object representation theory. And the other, I think is specific to grid cells, but I don't know much about it. But I know that the research team's working on a couple papers. There's a bunch of speaking stuff happening this fall. If you go to Numenta's events page, you can see a couple of them. There's CNS, that's at the Allen Institute in Washington. So, this webinar is actually, I think, going to be moved because I'm moving my household that week, so I'm not going to be able to do that. We're trying to move it to another date in August, so stand by for that. Jeff's going to be talking at Johns Hopkins University. APL Colloquium is so we're looking forward to that too in September. And there's one other thing, Human Brain Project Open Day 2018. Jeff is also a keynote speaker there, and so that's also exciting to be able to talk at that. So some speaking engagements coming up. Okay, without further ado, let me talk about this animation that I'm going to show you first off. So first of all, this is, I don't know if I should be showing you this honestly, because Christy's gone. This is an animation she wanted to make for a video that Jeff wants, but it's crucial that we communicate this properly. So I've been going back and forth with this animator that we've been working with that does our animations for us. He's really good, but what I'm trying to communicate is complicated. So I thought it might be even good to just run through what we have at this point, because I've iterated a bunch with him, and I've talked to Jeff about it and Christy. And I'd love to see what the community has to say about it at this point, because I think you guys will understand the concepts that I'm trying to share here. So I'm just going to show it to you in the spirit of the whole transparency and openness. There's no reason I thought why we shouldn't share this. So here's what I got. We're trying to show how an object can be recognized throughout the hierarchy, not really requiring a hierarchy. So we're just talking about like the first region of the hierarchy. And what you're seeing here is cortical columns and sort of the areas in which that they're processing, the sensory fields that they're processing. And you can see that, let me move this over here. You can see that over here. This is sort of like the sensory array input into a region full of cortical columns. And some of those cortical columns will recognize that based on what they see, like this little square, like this guy. Based on this, he says, I think that's a cup. Maybe we're just differentiating between whether it thinks it's a cup or not in this example. And you can say, yeah, this could be a cup. Chances are this is a cup. Another one down here. Chances are this is a cup based on this curve that I see. And as we move up the hierarchy, region 2 now, and this is crucial, we change the size sort of this sensor array relative to the columns size, because the columns are larger as you go up the hierarchy. So these guys are going to get a sort of a larger receptive field, a larger portion of an object to process, but they're going to be running the exact same object recognition process algorithm, to do it. We're just going to have a larger space to do it within. So the point I'm trying to get across is, as we go up this hierarchy, and here's the one at the very top, with the huge ones, it gets the largest section. So it can explain potentially how we can handle scaling objects up and down and recognize things very small and very large, because we have object recognition happening at large scales and at small scales, which is one of the ideas I think we're trying to talk about with this, because this is as compared to the classic hierarchy example, where you don't really get to the idea of cup until you get to the top. You're like, oh, edges and shapes, and at some point you have to get a certain ways up the hierarchy before you get to cup. Whereas our model at this point posits that even at the lower levels of the hierarchy, even with very small receptive fields of objects, that they're doing object recognition at that resolution. So I'm totally open to feedback from anybody who's online right now about that. I would love to talk about it, or if you're watching later, comment. So I'd like to know if those ideas are translated in this visualization. Open on the floor. Brian. Hi, Brian, by the way.
I guess maybe it's a little, to show the size, maybe a little bit misleading. Maybe like instead at the lower levels, you zoom in on a small portion instead of showing the whole cup small and then later showing the whole cup big. Do you follow me?
Yeah, but that doesn't translate the idea. The idea that those columns, even though they're only seeing a small portion, the small portion is supposed to be denoted by how it projects to the sensor array below it, but it knows it's a cup. Like, it knows it's a fully complete cup. Like, its object representation of cup is what it recall, or what it evokes when it sees that.
So is the correct thing then a sequence of so at the lowest level, it's a sequence of small snapshots with a limited range of the cup. And then at the higher level, it's a sequence of saccades over larger receptive fields. I don't know if that's a good way to visualize it. I'm just thinking.
Well, I'm trying to keep sequences out of it. I'm trying to say that at this point, we've learned the cup using our sequence memory. We've learned the cup, and just say, given this one sensor, this one sensation, how could these cortical columns be recognizing based on just that one sensation? Okay. And you're right. I mean, the cups are misleading, obviously, because that's not what really. There's no picture of a cup in that cortical column. It's this mess of synapses. It just represents what that little column has associated with the past, with cup in the past. It doesn't look like a cup or feel like a cup. It's just sensations that align with what it has known to be cup in the past. So it's hard to visualize that. But from the rest of the perspective of the brain, it's cup. That representation means cup. Every time that cortical column invokes that representation, it means cup. You know what I mean? Right. That's what I'm trying to show. Sure. It's hard to do visually. All right. Thanks for the feedback, though. I appreciate it. And any other feedback is welcome. I'm still iterating on this. Christy hasn't even seen it. Sorry, Christy, if this for the first time. But I know she's nice about this. I think she won't care. I'm going to now open the floor up, because that's the one animation that I wanted to show. I'm working on another one, but that one still needs a little bit of work. So Brian, did you have anything you wanted to talk about while you're online?
Just real quick, I was looking at Unity, and hopefully in the long term connect it to this grid cell research you're doing, to maybe show some examples of, because I just want to build it to understand it. So hopefully all your great videos are awesome and stuff, but yeah, I'd really like to try to build something simple and maybe attach it to either Unity, or the other one is OpenAI Gym, maybe has some environments. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I have to do a lot more work, but just playing around with Unity right now. Yeah, well, there already are reinforcement learning type environments for Unity, I think, like Playground. Right. Yeah, so, and there's people on the forum been talking about doing an RL HTM mashup for a long time.
So interesting topic. Good luck.
Thanks.
And see, someone else, Brian, is online. Did you want to say anything, Brian? If not, that's fine. But I'll give you a chance to chime in if you want.
I think I'm good right now. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for joining. And Mark Brown, who's BitKing, he was commenting on the video, I think, about the visualization. He says, if the reach of a dendrite is 16 columns across, how does the third representation reach further? The interconnecting fiber tracks are essentially parallel. I don't know, Mark. I'm trying to show something conceptually. I haven't. There's always a difference between. You have to create metaphors, and the metaphors are never correct. So I'm trying to come up with a metaphor, honestly, and so I can't get it. I can't get it to for the dendrites to stretch exactly the right direction for this metaphor to work. But for what I'm trying to communicate, the difference between classical hierarchy versus what we think is happening across the hierarchy with object recognition happening at all levels of the hierarchy. That's what I'm trying to communicate. It may not be exactly right at the the scaling and everything, but I think conceptually it works. Hopefully, if you think there's conceptually some things off with it, theoretically, I'm totally open to that, because I've never communicated it in this way before. So, okay, cool. Thank you for the feedback. That's it. So that was HTM Hackers Hangout. Thanks, you guys, for joining in today. Happy 4th of July for those of you in the United States that just went by. Oh, by the way, I've got a really busy month coming up. I've got a family vacation that'll be gone for like 2 weeks, from July 16th to the 31st. And then I'm immediately moving from my family from one house to another. So I'm going to be really tied up for like the next month. So just letting you know, I'll keep chiming in on the forum and making sure everyone's happy and healthy. But if you really need me, email me. Email me at matt@numenta.org. I'll still be checking emails. So if anything urgent comes up or some situation, email me at matt@numenta.org. So that is it. Thanks, everybody, for dropping by. And somebody commenting saying, thank you for HTM School. Excellent. You're very welcome. Thanks for everybody watching. Share them with your friends. Take care. Goodbye. Where's that stop button?